in the country of Ghana, a country of 23 million people. But in that country, it's as God has preserved these slave dungeons. And so it's like the Jewish people take their children during the summer to the death camps of Germany, where Hitler tried to exterminate them as a people. And they go to these places to look at the ovens and what took place so that they can endear into their children, this is why you must struggle to survive and become an asset to your people and an asset to the world and your society, because here was someone trying to destroy you as a people. So when we take our children to the slave dungeons, we walk through the dungeons, we give them the history of how the men and the women suffered in these dungeons. And then they were taken out through a door of no return and a perilous journey across the Atlantic into the Caribbean mainly to be cleaned and sorted out and then shipped to America to be sold into slavery. But if they look at that and walk through those dungeons, it's important. It's like a book that was written called Veil. Bob Woodward, the writer for the Washington Post. This book was about the CIA and William Casey under Ronald Reagan. But there was one line in there that always stuck with me. And the line was, Casey said, I like to visit the battlefields, go to Gettysburg. I can read about it, I can look at pictures of it, but get a sense of what happened there. Visit Valley Forge. Those were the two that my memory brings me back that he mentioned in the book, to get a sense of what happened at Valley Forge with George Washington, to get the feel. Well, it's the same thing when you take these young people to Africa and older people, that they get a feel and a sense of those dungeons. And they say, my God, I'm one of the survivors. Millions died to get them to the dungeons. Millions died in the Middle Passage. And what is great and a blessing about us, we're the survivors. So I'm saying that that to me is an important aspect of dealing with the African continent. Then there's the business opportunities in Africa. Tremendous business opportunities, because it's the richest continent in the world. There's enough wealth in this country right here, the wealthiest, the second largest in land area, but the wealthiest country in Africa, called the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Everything that you can think of is there. Enough wealth here to rebuild Europe again. And the business opportunities for this young group of our people, Black Americans, descendants of Africa, to use their expertise to build Africa. Also, Africa holds out hope, and we hope that one day we can do it, is our prison population. These young men who go to jail at 20 years old and get 40 years. They don't see the light of day until they're in their mid-60s. Life basically is almost over for them. But why don't we find out, as America was built, they went into the jails of Europe and they sent people. But these young men are smart. Some of them have expertise. Some of them are doctors and lawyers. They're sitting in jails. Then why don't we find the area in Africa and talk to the governments? And I can say it clearly to them that you have allowed countries in Europe and America to dump nuclear waste in your countries that in the long run will hurt your people. What is wrong with you taking the sons and daughters of Africa who are in a new form of slavery called the prison system of America? Bring them here and let them help build Africa and build a new reality for themselves. So this is my hope, and as I am a senior now, to inspire some young people to pick up this baton and to continue this challenge and get involved in Africa, to move back and forth. You don't have to move to Africa like I did, but at least be able to get on the plane and go there. And if you want two homes, you know, instead of buying you a beautiful home in the Caribbean, buy you a home in Africa where you can move back, the cultural exchange, the business exchange. I think it's important. And in Denver, you have a strong Afrocentric community. When I was at 5 Points, I saw some of the brothers. I saw the art, the African art, tremendous African art. I saw African dress here. So it's more than just the things that represent the cultural connection, but there's a business connection, there's a spiritual connection that I feel that we need to make with Africa. And so it gives our young people other venues to work with, which I think is important.
Yes, sir. Now, why do you think that, I mean, because the average Black American, when you talk about going back to Africa, a lot of our people don't even express interest in ever visiting the continent. Why do you think that is?
Because the very thing that you're on, Brother Herman, the news media, because how the news media describes Africa. And this is why it's important, as I said earlier, of shows like this where people can get another view. And when you look at Africa, AIDS, wars, poverty, they show African children with flies all over them and whatnot, malnutrition, just bones, sucking on a mother's breast that don't have nothing in it because her breast is dried up, sitting in the sand. So your idea and concept, they got malaria in Africa, and they got this, they got somebody like Robert Mugabe, a dictator, or they got a man in the Sudan who is killing people and genocide. I mean, when you look at it, or they had elections in Kenya and nearly 2,000 people were killed in the riots of the election. So you said, my God, I don't need Africa. I mean, America is beautiful to me, and I need to just stay here and do what I can. But that's not the picture of Africa.
Yes, sir.
So in order to stimulate the interest in Africa, you got to have a knowledge base first. You got to know more about the country. Politically, I don't always agree with Henry Louis Gates, but he produced a book called The Africana. And in it, you can go and read about all the different countries of Africa. He has every country in Africa in there. And you can sit down and go through it with young people and say, this is the Cameroons, this is the Comoro Islands, this is the Seychelles or Mauritius or Madagascar. You can talk about what's happening in Somalia. Beautiful country. Somalia is suffering. This country right here on the Horn of Africa, one of the most important countries in Africa. And you say, well, that war and killing, Ethiopia just invaded. America encouraged them to invade because they said Al-Qaeda bases were here. But the real deal in Somalia, and when you went to see Helicopter Down or Black Hawk Down, you know, no one said to you, this is all about oil. Somalia has a tremendous amount of oil. And it has the longest coastline in all of Africa. And so the oil is what is driving this. They haven't had a functioning government since 1991. And you say, well, what is it about? It's about those oil wells that Chevron found there and capped them and were waiting for the right time to bring the oil up. And who's going to control it is what they're fighting over right now. And most people in America don't know that, don't have any idea about it, don't have a clue about it. They just think that it's some of these Somalian Muslims, because the country is 99% Muslim, and they got these extremists there, and they're fighting over power, who's going to run the government, but it's oil that's driving all of that. So I just want to say that. The last thing I want to say as we close your program, and thank you very much for having me, is that one of the books that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was given to read by his teacher was, he had to read 104 books, if you know this, in the teachings within the Nation of Islam. One of them was the book called The Story of Mankind by a man named Van Loon. I think he was a Dutch writer. Many of us don't know the books. We know Outline of History by Wells, but many of us don't know the titles of the book. We know that many of them were on the life of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. But in this book, there was one line when I read it, and I read it back in the early 70s. And you know, I can't remember page by page, but I remember this. They said that they had a section in there on Napoleon. They said that though I may have disagreed with Napoleon, but when his armies marched down the streets of Paris, I felt an overwhelming feeling to run and to join him. And I'm closing this because this is the way it is with Barack Obama. You may disagree with him. You know, our paper has some different disagreements with him. But the movement is so strong. The spirit that he has lifted up in America and the hope for positive change that will affect the entire world and Africa in particular is so strong that we should feel this overwhelming commitment to make sure that we take our parents, the elderly, the young people to register and vote. And if they try to steal the election from him through the electoral process of voting, which is totally ridiculous, half of America do not understand it, then the people should be able to stand up. These are the numbers. These are the numbers that can make a difference. It shows that the majority of the people of America wanted a change.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. I told you.
So I want to thank you very much, brother.
I have to thank you, Brother Akbar. I really do, from the depth of my heart.
Thank you.
It was beautiful.
Thank you.
Look like the sands in the hourglass. I can see them falling, yelling to say they like, but look, they don't hear me calling. See, like Gene, they be stalling as if my message is foreign, melting in this pot, falling slowly. I see them dissolving, crawling to be complete like 9 planets in orbit. Straight and forward is how it's recorded. To your ear, the target I boarded from within with the intention to kill. False concepts and lies, things that ain't sank to these eyes. From the despised and rejected, I've been selected to teach. This tongue be the sword that will make war with this beast. Now there'll be no peace until this prophecy's fulfilled.